Today we're going to be making ackee and saltfish. Now ackee is very scarce, so instead of using the actual ackee that you would get off the trees, we're going to be using the ackees from the can. Alright, so here you have the codfish, or as we island people call it, saltfish. Hence the name, since it's a dried fish that's salted. Now, in order to get it prepared for cooking, you have to soak it in water overnight to rehydrate it, which also helps to remove the excessive salt before cooking. Alright, so here I'm getting the water ready to boil the codfish. 1, to remove the excessive salt, and 2, to get it ready to be cooked. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and chop up the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so we're going to be chopping up the veggies, which is a whole onion, tomato, and Scotch Bonnet pepper. Now you're gonna need a little salt to season as taste, and then you're gonna need Scotch Bonnet pepper. Now I already cut the head off of mine, and this is very hot, so it's a preference thing. So I would recommend taking the seeds out because it's very, very hot. Chopping up the Scotch Bonnet pepper. Scotch Bonnet pepper is very, very hot, so you want to wash your hands with soap so that you don't burn your eyes, and wash it very, very thoroughly. Now I have my bowl here that I've already pre-washed. Now we're going to take the codfish out. We're going to run some cold water on it so it stops cooking, and then we're going to let it cool for a little bit, and then we're going to pull it apart. Follow me. You see it's coming apart now? It's breaking apart, so we're going to use a spoon instead. Now that's perfect. So that's easier to pull it apart when you're cooking it together now. Or if you have a strainer, you can just, or a colander, you can always just pour it on top. So now we have that. We're going to run some cold water on it. And what this is going to do is to stop the cooking process. Or actually slow down the cooking process. That's enough water. We're going to set that aside for about 2 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and start kneading the flour for the boiled dumplings. Now, I have 2 different pots. One that I used to boil the saltfish, and then one that I'm going to use to boil the dumplings. I don't want to boil it in the same water because it might be over salting the dumplings. So I'm going to use a clean water and clean pot. So stay tuned. Alright, so we're going to fill up the pot for the dumplings we're going to have to boil. Now we're going to want that to actually fill up almost towards the top of the pot, so the water covers the dumplings so they can steam properly. Alright, so we're going to be making our dumplings, and we can use the all-purpose flour. Now the brand itself doesn't matter, you can use any flour you want to use. So let's go ahead and go on the other side and knead the flour. While the water is boiling, you're going to add about, well, when you put the water to boil, you're going to add about a teaspoon of salt in the water to let it dissolve, to give the dumpling some flavor. Now, while that is boiling, I'm going to go ahead and knead my flour to make my dumplings. So now I'm going to eyeball this because I already know I don't need a measuring spoon. Now, as the water is boiling, we're gonna go ahead and sift our flour to get all the lumps out of it. Now I'm using a strainer. You can use a colander. It doesn't really matter. Just want to get the lumps out of it. And this is, I'm using a measuring cup just for your purpose. This is 1 cup actually. I'm going to be sifting out the flour. Now, depending on the amount of dumplings you want to make, I'm going to tell you how much I make with mine, and then I will put the information in the description as to how many cups of flour I use. Right now we're on 3 cups. Now, so an easy way to do this is actually just, you can just jiggle it around. Because as I said, we just want to get the lumps out of it. Or you can just pick it up and, you know, gently tap it on your hand. Now, see all the lumps coming out of it right now? It's going to be a little messy. But hey, we're cooking, right? All right, so right now we have 4 cups of flour. I'm going to set this aside. Now, a little trick about making dumplings. You want to make, say, a little hole in the middle of the flour to pour your liquid, which is your water, in here so that it doesn't splash all over the place. So I'm going to make a little, like a little dome in here, pushing the flour away. And now I'm going to get my water so we can knead this together. All right, so in here we have about 3 cups of water. Now I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt in the water. I'm going to eyeball it. Now, I'm going to use a fork to mix it around so it dissolves it. It's a little trick my mom taught me. Instead of pouring the salt in the actual flour. It doesn't take long. All right. So once that dissolves, we're going to take the water now, and then we're going to go and pour it inside our flour and knead it together to bring it together. Okay. Now we're going to add small amounts of water at a time. You don't want to add the whole thing. So we're going to add small amounts of water. Now the more you add, the more you push it on top of the water. You just mixing it around, or folding it in actually. And see it comes together like that. We're going to push it apart again and keep adding small amounts of water because you don't want to over knead the flour and get it where it's all pasty like. You want it to be more of a doughy form than actual running paste. So I'm going to do this for you. Now it's not going to take all 3 cups of water. It's going to be roughly about 2.5 cups of the water. So there it is. It's already coming together. You want it looking flaky like that. That's good. So we're going to do it again. Small amounts of water. Folding it in. It's a messy process, but it's fun. Cooking's supposed to be fun, right? Now we're gonna do is we're gonna do a squishy game. You're gonna squish the flour together to knead it. Knead it together. Now you're gonna pour a little bit more water. So we're gonna fold it in, push it down on top of each other. And now you're gonna take it, pick it up, fold it like that. You want to over knead the flour. You want it nice and pliable to make your dumplings. Now that's going to take me a few minutes to do that, and we'll be right back, and I'll show you how to make the dumplings. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more flour to this so that it doesn't stick to the bowl and it's easier for me to knead out the balls of dumplings. So roughly about I would say a half a cup more of flour, and get it on your hand so it doesn't stick as you do this. We're gonna just roll it up in here. Now we're not gonna knead the entire amount that we put in there. We just want to put it on there so it doesn't stick to the bowl, right? It doesn't need to be perfect, as you can see. Now we're gonna just pick it up and just knead it just a little bit more. You don't want to over knead it. Okay, all right, so now that's nice. We're gonna let it rest for just a few minutes while we go ahead and pull apart our codfish. Be right back with you. All right, so the camera died in the process of recording, so we had to switch to a 4K res camera now. So if you see a different quality, that's why. All right, so what we're gonna do right now is actually get ready to open up the ackee. Since we can get the ackee is actually very scarce here in Florida, so you can't get it off the tree. So you can use the can. If you can get it off the tree, great for you. But here, I only have the can. All right, so I'm getting ready to open up the ackee. And sorry, I can't find my can opener, so I'm going to use a knife. Now this does happen sometimes. Hopefully you don't lose your can opener. All right, so we have this open now. We're gonna go ahead and drain it. We're just gonna drain the water off. All right, now this obviously comes already cleaned, because if anyone know anything about ackee, you know that you have to clean the poisonous guts out before you can actually eat it. Now we're gonna go ahead and open the other can. Yes, you guys heard me. I said poisonous. Ackee, if you are Jamaican, know that it's a very poisonous fruit, a vegetable, or I don't know which it is. Vegetable, fruit, no one knows really. This is how it actually looks. Now, when you pop the little black head off, on the inside, it has all these little red things on the inside that has to be cleaned out before you actually cook it, and it has to be boiled. Otherwise, it's poisonous. So we're gonna go ahead, and I already pre-washed the top of my can here. And I'm gonna go ahead and open this second can, and then we're gonna go ahead and get everything all fried up for you. And be very careful if you're doing what I'm doing. I'm used to doing this when I can't find my can opener. So it comes natural for me. So it looks very scary, but I'm okay. All right, so we're going to drain the second can here. And try to get one out because it's already pre-cooked. Now see the inside of this? That's usually where that little red flour, or I guess insides, would be. And they already cleaned everything out for you and pre-washed and boiled it. So we're not going to do much cooking with that. So that's going to be very easy for us to cook. Now, we already have all of this open now. I'm going to drain the water here off of the codfish, or in Jamaica, we call it saltfish. But here, it's called codfish. So I'm going to drain the water. And then I'm going to pull it apart. See, this one usually has bones in it, but it's already been deboned. You can buy it like that at your grocery store. Now, we don't want to break this up too small. Like chunks like this is very fine. Okay? So we don't want to do it too fine. We just want to give it a little bit of chunks, because I like my fish with chunks. I don't like to eat minced fish, but if you like it smaller, again, it's a preference thing. All So we're going to just go ahead and gently break that apart. We're going to make sure it's all broken apart, that we still have a big piece right here. Now, these pieces on there on the fish, it's normal. You don't have to worry about that. All right, so now we have it, our chunks. Okay, so I'm going to wash my hand. And we're going to set that aside and get the pot heated on the stove. I'm using a very large skillet or cast iron pot because it gives me even cooking and it brings everything together nice. So our water's already boiling over here. We're going to take our cast iron skillet. And right now we're going to put the temperature on high just to get the pot hot enough so we have it even cooking. And then in the process, after we're fried up everything, we're going to lower the temperature. Right now we're going to get ready to make our dumplings. So we're going to take this off because as you can see, the water is already boiling. Let me grab my towel here, dry my hands up a little bit. I'm going to set that aside. All right, so now, as you can see, I didn't have anything covering my dough here because I'm using it immediately, but if some of you prefer, you can actually put either a cheesecloth or you can wrap it in plastic until you're ready to use it because that keeps it moist. But since I'm using mine right away, I only let it sat for about 2 minutes. So now it's nice and pliable. See, it's not too hard and it's still pliable. So you can get to roll it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead now and get a little bit more flour. And this is just so that it doesn't stick to your hand. We're just gonna go ahead and, not a lot of flour, just shake a little bit of flour on here. And that's just so it doesn't stick. Now I'm gonna get some of the flour and rub it on my hand here and shake the excess off in the bowl. And now we're gonna take small pieces of it, or depending on how big you want your dumplings to be. Now, see, I just took a piece of ball here and I'm gonna just smush it together going around like this, or however you prefer making your balls. This is how I was taught by my mom. So I'm gonna, as you can see, I'm just gonna push it inwards like that, working the ends inward, or you can just roll it. It doesn't need to be perfect because you're gonna eat it, right? So I roll it in a ball, going around with my thumbs like this. Then I'm gonna just flatten it out, and then just drop it in my pot. And then you're gonna continue doing that until all your flour is gone. Now, if it gets sticky, which sometimes it does, all you gotta do is just pick up some little flour here, rub it on the palm of your hands, rub it together, and it doesn't stick. So we're gonna just roll that around here. Again, depending on how big you want your dumplings, you can even do a larger size ball, flatten them out, pop them in the pot. So that's all we're doing right now. We're just rolling our balls, flatten them out with our palm here, and then spread them out like that. And then we're going to take them and we're going to drop them away from you in the pot so the water doesn't splash. And that goes pretty quick. At least I think it goes pretty quick. All right, so we're going to make a few of these. They don't have to all be the same size because I like the big ones. My kids like them smaller. It's easier for them to cut it up, I guess. So I'm going to continue doing this until all my flour is gone. And then I'm going to let them boil. Dumpling cooks very quickly. So roughly about 5 minutes and they should be done. And while that's happening, then we're going to go ahead and cook up our Ackee and Saltfish. All right, as the dumplings are boiling, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to fry up the Ackee and the saltfish. Now, I'm going to be using the Luana coconut oil. I use this a lot in my cooking, or I use the extra virgin olive oil, but today I'm going to be using the coconut oil. All right, so we're going to be using about 2 tablespoons because this makes a packet. You gotta have a really, really hot pot. All right, mine's is smoking. That's fine. Don't need to pan it. All right, so 3 tablespoons of whichever oil you're using, and we're gonna go ahead and get all our veggies here. All our veggies here scooped in. We're gonna do the onions first. You want it nice and hot so you can. That's when you know it's hot. When you hear your sizzle, we're gonna go ahead and try to caramelize these. Now, this usually happens. It's fine when you're using a cast iron pot. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up that. The tomatoes goes in a little bit after the onions have been caramelized. So I'm gonna go ahead and brown that up a little bit. It's already getting brown. I'm gonna go ahead and lower my temperature down. Each stove is differently, so yours may say high, low, or medium. So I get my cast iron pot on high, and then I lower the temperature. All right, see, those are already getting nice and brown. We're gonna go ahead and get our codfish, which is here. And then we're just gonna go ahead and put that in. Now, I'm doing it by hand because I don't want any excessive water to make the oil splash on me. Because it still leaves water, as you can see, in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now we're gonna grab our ackee. I'm gonna stir it up for a little bit. And let it actually just cook up with the seasoning. Now, at some point, you're going to need to add at least a little bit more of your oil so that doesn't stick to the pot. That's an additional 1 tablespoon. So we're going to fry it up just a little bit. And it doesn't matter if it's sticking right now because everything you put together, all of that stuff that's sticking on the bottom, it's going to come together once you put the ackee in and it starts sizzling. So we're going to go ahead now, since we got a little browning on our fish here, we're going to go ahead and put in our tomato. I'll set that to the side. Now, what's going to happen is the moisture from the tomato and from the ackee is going to pick up all that stuff on the bottom of the pot, and that's going to give it the extra flavor. So we're going to go ahead and add our ackee. All of that out. Let's get this out of the way. Now we have our black pepper. That's about half a tablespoon. We're going to do just a wee bit more. And I'm just going to add roughly about a tablespoon or less. It depends on what you prefer, what your preference is. Now, here is my Scotch Bonnet pepper. Now, I kind of chop them up a wee bit because it's going to give a lot of kick to it. As I said, if you don't like heat, then you can leave out the Scotch Bonnet. If you do like a little bit of heat, you can put it in there. Now, you can actually, instead of Scotch Bonnet, use red pepper flakes. It still gives you a little bit of heat, but not as much heat in it. So now, since the codfish itself is already salted, you don't need to add any additional salt to it. But if you can taste it, which by now you should be able to, that's so good. If you can taste it and it's not enough salt for you, you can still go ahead and add, say, another teaspoon or half a teaspoon of salt. It's just to add to taste. Now, Mine's should be about done. I'm gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes because, as I said, the can's already pre-cooked, so it's not much you need to do. And see, it already has its own water, so all that flavor on the bottom of the pot has already been picked up. So we're gonna let that cook like that for about another 5 minutes or so, and we should be ready to eat. The dumplings are already done. Now, when you know your dumplings are done is when they're actually floating. So we can go ahead and turn that off now, and we're gonna get ready to eat. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up, and then we're gonna serve the dishes and get ready to eat. All right, now everything is done cooking. We're gonna go ahead and take the dumplings out. Just gonna take out 2 for now. I'm gonna get a little bit of everything. Still have some liquids in there. It's fine. All right. So we're gonna go ahead. And try this. So we're gonna go ahead and taste this. And as you can see, the dumpling is nice and tender. We're gonna try to get a little bit of everything. It's really, really hot. Careful not to burn yourself. This is really good. Oh, you can smell the codfish and the tomatoes and everything together. It smells so good. The flavor is good. And then that Scotch bonnet pepper gives it that hint, that nice little kick that you need. Really good. You guys should try this. Again, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.